Hi, Tuesday, new week worth of live streams. Away we go. Hello, Mega H. The Ferg, what are we doing? Okay, I am looking something up. Gonna go with I'm gonna find a bit more detail on a cocktail I was going to make, and have I forgotten what it's called? I think I maybe have. Okay, let's see if I can remember that. Right. Found it. I'm a foregone genius. And it's served in a coupe. Okay. Okay, it's all good. Hey, Luke, how you doing? I am fine. Thank you for asking. I am going to make a cocktail called Silhouettes. It's actually throwing me because it's called Silhouettes and not the Silhouette. Calling it a gimlet riff. Right. Bashir, hello. How you doing? I'm going to make a cocktail. I'm just going to get myself set up. Which will take me un momento to get set and the up. There we go. Just temporary. This won't take long. This is like a warm-up thing I do. Make a cocktail. Hey, Strictly Sega. Oh, yeah, it has been a while since we've seen you. Hope you're doing better. I hope, things are okay for you right now. I'm just setting up to make it a cocktail so I can sit down and have a cocktail. I'll just do one video tonight. Yep, okay, good. Get this party started. Okay. Ugh. Come on. Let's go, little GoPro. Alright, I see you there for now. I think that's too high. There might be right. Alright, so we're gonna shake this cocktail. Got a thingo there. Okay, let's do this now. maraschino cherry. Maraschino, I should say. Maraschino cherry. Oh, what's rattling there? Is it you? It's you. I prefer it if the bottles don't knock together when I walk past them. That's just a thing. You're okay. Oh, that's interesting. Your mum's not having a funeral. Didn't know it was a choice. I think that probably varies from place to place, actually. But yeah, I hope you're taking care of yourself. Having been through the same scenario myself, it's a little bit tough. So you've got to take care of your well-being. All right, I have to pick a gin. Okay, bone dry. Let's do this. Vanilla syrup. Grenadine. All right. Get myself ready. Get ready. Get ready. Okay, this is all good. Now, I'm going to actually make the cocktail and get my GoPro shot of making it first. See, I've got that set up correctly. Well, it's all bright over there now. We're going about there. That looks good. That looks good. Let's get the first pour happening. What percent is this? 44. Just a little bit stronger than ordinary. 10%, in fact. Let's do this. Turn it on. And half an ounce of this. 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. Half an ounce of vanilla syrup. And a little bit of grenadine. The pomegranate syrup is actually nice. Okay, so you're done. Now I'm going to do the talky bit. So this will just take 5 minutes. This is, you're getting behind the scenes. You're getting to see how the sausage. This is going to be a sweet. This is a variation on a gimlet. And so I think it's a bit sweeter than an average gimlet. I've never tried it before, so it's going to be interesting. Oh, what am I doing? I'm confused. I'm so confused. I haven't finished doing this. Ugh, I'm so easily distracted, honestly. All right. Let's do this. Put some ice in my shaker. Ice, baby. Shit, a brick. Fuck, okay. Come on, dude. Get your shit together. Just knocking my lights around here. Like a madman. Alright. Put this Yeah. Double check how that looks before I start. There we go. That looks about right. Let's see. Start. Get ready. Oh, it's pretty. Pretty and pink. Okay. Okay. Pepper done. All right. We sang that to the Gimlets, named after Rear Admiral Sir Thomas Desmond Gimlet. I believe you. I'm trusting you. Wait a sec. I'm going to take a picture of this so I can share it online. Okay. Portrait, just in case I want it like that. Right, that's that done. Now, got to do that. Okay, getting ready. Getting ready. Why that song stuck in my head? G'day cocktail lovers. I was looking at the Punch Drink website, which is one of the regular sites I go to get cocktail ideas, and they had a roundup of what are the most popular drinks at a lot of well-known bars across America. And apparently in the Denver branch of Death & Co., their most popular in-house cocktail is called Silhouettes. And hell, if it's good enough for Death & Co., it's good enough for me. So I thought I'd try it. And looking at the ingredients, they call it a gimlet variation. And there's a few interesting changes from a tradition, They call it a gimlet variation, and there's a few interesting changes from a traditional gimlet. So I'm looking forward to trying this. One is what I think must be a local spirit they call plum, I suppose. And I thought, oh, is this going to be a plum-flavored spirit or liqueur? I don't have anything like this. And I looked it up, and although it's named after the fruit, the distillation is not done with the flesh of the fruit. It's done with the seed or the pit. And so it ends up having those almond-like flavors, famously like maraschino, which is made, again, from the seeds from that maraschino cherry, not the flesh. So I thought, honestly, from what I read online, maraschino liqueur is probably a good substitute. So that's what I'm going with. And I just need to 100% look up that name in case I'm talking shit. Hey, Matt, making a cock. I should have had, you know what? I like to put my banner there. Just so anyone knows. It's only going to take a couple seconds, minutes. Shouldn't overprom, although it's always seconds, really, isn't it? Plum, I suppose. I did get it right. It was plum. I was worried it was a different fruit. To make the cocktail, we go like this. In our shaker, you put 1.5 ounces or 45 mils of gin, and then you put half an ounce or 15 mils of, well, plum, I suppose. Then I'm putting half an ounce, 15 mils of maraschino liqueur because I don't have plum, I suppose. Then 3/4 of an ounce, about 22.5 mils of lemon juice. And I'm blanking for just a second on ingredients. God damn it. Was half an ounce. Then half an ounce or 15 mils of vanilla syrup. And finally, 1/4 of an ounce, about 7.5 mils of grenadine. Add ice to the shaker, shake that good and hard for about 10 or 15 seconds to chill and dilute the drink. And then we strain that into a chilled coupe. The grenadine makes it a fun colour. Very manly. Oh, there's a helicopter going overhead. Yeah, no, it is. It's going right overhead and it's getting loud. My microphone will definitely pick that up. That Polair or something. And it's getting closer. Once in my old neighbourhood, which is much dodgier than this neighbourhood, the police helicopter was going around and we go around one night, and the spotlight was shining right in my yard. That was disconcerting, that they were chasing someone who could have been in my yard. The grenadine makes it a really nice colour. Very manly. Fun story, on my original YouTube channel, Angry Aussie, I did lots of angry, sort of extremely left-wing politics in videos. And so I used to get a bunch of right-wingers who were very angry at me. And some of them got very angry when they found out I drank cocktails. Not manly enough. You're not a man. Yeah, whatever, Tiger. I've got my pink cocktail and I'm going for it. Oh, wow. That is actually really good. To me, this does not taste like a traditional gimlet at all. It's sweeter, definitely. Oh, but those different flavors are coming together really well. I don't know how different it would be if you had the actual plum, I suppose, spirit that Death & Co. used, but I think this is a pretty good approximation. And I think, you shouldn't be scared to go for substitutions when you find a recipe that sounds interesting, but you don't have the specific thing that's listed in it. Look it up online, find out what the flavors are, and go with something you have that's close, or hell, maybe something that's different, just to mess things around a bit. Creativity, experimentation, and fun is how I like to approach cocktails, and it's worked with this one. I hope it works for you too, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers. This is actually a good, if sweet, cocktail. Now I'm going to sit down and chat. Oh, no, I didn't. You're right, Dr. Abigail. I didn't put the chicken in charge, which was extremely irresponsible of me to not leave anyone in charge while I did that. Okay. That's it. So you looked up Strixhager, Rear Admiral's Thomas Desmond Gimlet suggested combining the prescribed lime juice with officer's daily ration of gin to mask the bitter taste. The history of cocktails is weird because I think I have heard that too, but there were also conflicting theories because no one wrote it down in a book and said, I named it a gimlet for this reason. But I think that's a solid idea for how it happened. Oh, and got that identifies as thing. those fuckwits, it's like they just regurgitate the one joke over and over, and they're so fucking cringy. Although I think now they feel super proud they've got one more joke, and they're just constantly referencing Netflix doing a version of a, a property that already exists, whether they're remaking a movie, show, book, whatever, and they change the cast because, you know, the previous thing, it was an all white cast, and it's like they think they're making a really wacky joke that Netflix changes ethnic makeup of cast in shows, and it's just like, you're fucking pathetic. You are really fucking pathetic. Well, Strictly Sega is definitely not a joke in the sense that it's not funny, but they think they're being edgy and funny when they say, and they come up with just continual variations of it, and it comes down to exactly what you're saying, the world leaving them behind. It's their insecurity, and it's just, oh no, there's things are different now, I can't cope. Particularly cishet white people who are super fucking threatened at the idea that they may not have, you know, complete cultural, political, and monetary dominance anymore. It's super, super pathetic. And somewhat related, I have been watching the new Bridgerton series, the prequel, the origin of the Queen. How did England get a black queen? And yeah, point the first. Bridgerton is a fantasy. It is not in any way intended to be, you know, historically accurate. It's a fantasy, and it's a fun fantasy. Broadly speaking, I find it to be a lot of fun, and people who nitpick at it are fucking idiots, quite honestly. It's like saying something is an anachronism or whatever. And some people do say it because they say the fashions are wrong. It's like, for fuck's sake, it's a fucking fantasy. And there was a little bit they put in this because the woman who becomes the queen, she's chosen for the king. She's German nobility, and but you know, she's black. But then there's a discussion between some of the black characters in the show about the fact they're actually really wealthy, and in fact, the king needed to marry someone who was wealthy, and they're having the trouble being accepted into British society, but it's not because they're poor. Someone references them being really wealthy because, you know, they were kings and queens in, I forget which country they say, it might have been Nigeria. But what I picked up from that, the black wealthy people in England referencing that they're wealthy and they were kings and queens in Africa, to me, what that is suggesting in this fantasy world, Europe never colonized and plundered Africa, or at least not all of Africa, because the European colonizers stole trillions in wealth, not just from Africa, but in this context, we're talking Africa. And I'm sure that's the point they were making. I don't think I'm reading too much into it. I'm sure they're actually saying the reason these, and also the Indian characters in season 2 of Bridgerton would be the same, I guess. It's now, I think that's what they're suggesting. The European colonizers did not plunder ravage, destroy, and steal from the rest of the world. So those people from the non-white countries still have enough wealth to be nobility. Now, of course, there's the whole argument of a nobility not being a good thing anyway. But one thing at a time. It's a a fantasy about those types of people. But yeah, I feel like that's the underlying thesis of this is a world where the non-white countries weren't plundered by colonizers, so they're still wealthy, and there's still racism, but the non-white countries aren't being held back by lack of wealth. Their wealth has not been completely stolen by European colonizers, which is interesting because that's actually the basis of Wakanda in Black Panther. Wakanda was never colonized as the only African nation that was never colonized because they used their clever advances through vibranium to conceal themselves, essentially, because they seem to the outside world they seem super poor because they're effectively hiding their wealth through the advances they gain from vibranium. So yeah, okay, for a square on the Angry Bingo card, I'm going to bring up the Blind Boy podcast. Big fan, my favorite podcast. Definitely my favorite podcast. But I'm always interested when I think, I don't think you've got that right, because he loves, and as he's recently had a diagnosis of having autism, and he's going, well, now how I've thought about things my whole life makes more sense now. He gets very hyper focused on things and goes down rabbit holes of research for things that he finds interesting. And one thing he doesn't find interesting is the superhero movies, the comic book movies. He just finds himself completely unable to get into them. And that's fine. That's fair enough. But he when he mentioned Black Panther at one point, he said it was how he perceived it. It's like the idea of an African nation being advanced was mocking them. It was like that's a silly fantasy, as if that would happen. And he took it as a massive negative that they were treating the concept of an advanced and wealthy African nation as a fantasy, and a silly fantasy at that. And I feel like he really missed the point on that, because everything I've read is that Stan Lee was doing that as a positive representation of black characters, and it was the big thing. Wakanda is wealthy and advanced because it was never colonized. Their wealth was never stolen. The country was never destroyed by colonizers. So, perceptions. They're different. We see things differently. Isn't that a crazy thought, that not everyone in this big wacky world of ours sees things exactly the same way? It's it's not necessarily a bad thing, although it can be. I'm not going to make any more videos, but I think I'm going to make myself another drink, and I need to actually go out, get something. So I might put the hazy thing on. Is that true? Okay, see, my knowledge of this part of the world is not that great, because Yeah, I was just thinking virtually everywhere, and the South Pacific was. I mean, I guess to an extent, parts of China were colonized, but then they got rid of the colonizers. Japan was never colonized. Philippines was colonized multiple times. Indonesia was colonized. The Pacific Islands were all colonized. Uh, Thailand's, yeah, I'm taking your word for that. Does that mean Thailand's wealthier than a nation? There you go. The only Southeast Asian nation not colonized. There you go. So, speaking of Netflix, oh, right. Oh, yes. No, I've heard of that one. BritBox. There's a lot of shows on that one. Yeah. I've got every now and then something comes up on a streaming service I don't have, like Apple Plus or Stan, that looks really good, and I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. And yes, I could pirate it, but you know what? It's not worth the effort. There's a bunch of stuff on things I'm already subscribed to that I haven't got around to watching, and as much as I might feel like I'm missing out from these other things, I'm just going to miss out on them. That's just the way it is. Can't watch everything. Golden age of television. I'm going to close a bunch of windows or tabs, as the case may be. Shanghai swelters through hottest May day in 100 years. Fuck's sake. Yeah, hottest May day in 100 years. We're going to keep hearing about that. People having hottest days. That's what I was going to do. I was going to bring YouTube up so I could have the AIDS apocalypse test card. Actually, if I talk to Frank, I might get him to do another one because I really like this one. I'll show you what. Oh, sorry, what are we doing? What are we doing? All right, I'll show you what I'm thinking of. These are, and I mean, this is a BBC one, okay, but it was like, this was actually, okay, for people who don't know, these were, well, first they were put on when there was nothing being broadcast. Can you imagine that? There was a time when a TV station, and it was not that long ago, it's like 80s, where TV stations shut down for the night and they didn't broadcast for a number of hours. And the BBC and ABC would have a test card on when they're doing it. But that's not just to fill in time. This was used by TV installers and repairers to calibrate and tune the TV. All these little lines and the colors and whatnot were all used by TV installers and repairers to calibrate the TV. But I'm thinking, I get Frank to do something like this, a test card, and put AIDSy in the middle. Because but the same thing with him slowly falling apart. That's a thought I had. Do they call that test card F? There you go. But yes. So I'm thinking of adapting or getting Frank to do another one. Right. So I'm going to be out for a minute or two. So I will put AIDSy on to look after things. Rather than putting chicken in charge, I'll put Aidsy in charge. Now we don't need me. I'll full screen that sucker. Oh, his jaw's fallen off. Let's stop him there. And I'll just come back. Oh, so you wanted the chicken. I have, strictly saying, I have been leaving a chicken in charge when I go off and make things, but I forgot to tonight. So there was no chicken in charge. Going to pour a garnish on my cocktail. Shazam, y'all. Put orange twist in my cocktail. jar of cherries. Yep, because I'm at my final jar of cherries. I'm going to have to go out and get an emergency backup jar of cherries because I hate the idea of running out. Ugh. 2 cherries came out. You know what? I'm going to be responsible and put one back. Crazy times. Ugh. Okay. And of course, we don't have to tune TVs anymore because we're not getting the signal over the air most of the time. So that's a job that disappeared. TV tuners. World keeps changing. Best test pattern here was called the Phillips circle pattern. Ah, yes. Circle so we knew we had the right aspect ratio. Yes. The mysteries of history. Why am I saying things like that? Oh my God, that's really good. Yeah, now I could imagine wanting to set the colors right. So I don't know what people do now. I literally just turn the Fertelgen TV on and go for some presets. Or I switch off the thing, what's it called? The interpolation or something that makes really nicely shot movies look like they were shot on video under shitty, harsh lighting. The thing that's designed for TV sport to make the images really sharp and crisp so you can see all the detail in TV sport. But if you have that setting on when you watch, like good quality TV shows or movies, it looks shit. Oh, you have a test? You're a goddamn professional. You have a test TVD to set the colors. And cellophane strips. Good God. You're serious about this stuff. Well, fair go. Fair go to you. Serious about this. I remember being in a JB Hi-Fi or something like that. And they're the biggest TV they're selling, which was, fucking ridiculous. But they had it set. They had it set with this interpolation thing on it. And they were running one of the Avengers movies on this really big TV, but with this interpolation thing set, and it looked fucking terrible. And I was just looking at it going, how do you not see this looks like shit? That a reasonable chunk of the population is going to come in and see this and go, well, I'm not buying that TV because it looks like shit. You sell them at Home for the LDLY. You should give me the link on Discord, maybe. I can share it. So is my Discord. Open Discord in our browser. What the fuck is this doing? All right. So you got to be serious. TVs are so fancy. Oh yeah, Dad got a better expensive TV. Did it wrong. Why buy the expensive TV and not use an HDMI wire? Yes, I at least use HDMI. I'm doing it. So. My TV is not that expensive though, and it's about 10 years old now, I think. Because I had a plasma TV. Remember plasma TVs? And it died. I got it repaired once, and then a couple of years later, it died again. And I was just like, "Oh, fuck it, I'll get a slightly bigger one." And I did. And that was, that must have been 10 years ago, and that's just still going. And it's a big ass TV. Like, it's not. You literally get ones. It's not difficult to get TVs that are twice the size of the one I have. So, come on, Discord, load for me. Oh, nice. All right, so I'm gonna share the link here. I can. She can't. So yeah, that's the link to the product we were talking about. Digital Video Essentials. Home for the I've always actually, I don't think I've ever asked you. Home for the LDLY. LD is Laserdisc. Plasma TVs had the potential to have problems with screen burn. Oh, home for the elderly. LDs. Okay. See, that's a friggin' in joke there for folks in the Laserdisc world. Home for the elderly. See, there you go. God damn it. I never really knew what your Bitney username meant there. Now I do. Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure there was a way to fix it. I actually never had a problem with burn-in on my plasma, and like I said, it died 10 years ago. So I think just got a Sony. Well, it was not top of the line 10 years ago, but it's good. Hey, Asafa, how are you doing? Your plasma died in 2014. Got it in 2009. Literally, that sounds very similar to me, actually. I guess Laserdiscs, it has to be old fellas like me who know of Laserdiscs from the 90s. You'd expect most of the people who were into it were adults in the 90s. Thunderstorm got it. I think it was 50-inch plasma. Oh, dang. I don't even remember. Like I said, fucking died 10 years ago. I don't remember anything about it. I know, actually, the guy who I got to repair it, he's going like, that, and because we started talking, I was doing YouTube stuff, and he's going, there's repairs people can do on these at home. And we did sort of talk about maybe making a video of him showing the easy repairs you can actually do at home. Never got around to it. And of course, technology changes, and it would have been out of date. So, God damn, that's good. 20-year-olds getting into retro. Buying the animation stuff. Yeah. Every generation does that. I reckon every generation goes through this thing where they get retro. I had friends back in the 80s who got into rockabilly, which was late 50s, early 60s musical style. And they'd wear the clothes that were in fashion in the 50s. The big thing was if you could get a car from the 50s. And the guys that do like the hair and the big quiffs up here. Wild stuff. Oh, you're being responsible. You're not getting a new TV till your current one dies. Yeah, I mean, same here. There's no way. It's plenty big enough. It's plenty big enough. And like I said, it is not difficult to get one that's literally twice as big as in area. Um, uh, but I don't need to. And honestly, if I got one of the really big ones now, it'd take me a while to adjust. For a while, it'd just fucking freak me out to have a screen there. Because I don't know, I'm old. I grew up with TVs that were this fucking big. The 80 centimeters, that was the limit for your home thing, unless you had a projector. Good God. See, that's a good use of your Kev bucks. Get a plasma. Oh, visual impairment. So if you get a really big one, you're going to watch it like that. Did I ever? No. See, that's the thing. I never had any sort of special TV. You could get these little portable ones that were literally the screen was like that big. No, I never had anything special in TV type world. So yeah. Oh God, strictly Sega. What you were saying about watching things like that. The only time I've had that was in IMAX. Probably my first experience at IMAX. This was before they even had, mainstream movies. They were all nature documentaries and whatnot that were shot for IMAX, and it was Africa, the Serengeti, narrated by James Earl Jones. And I just remember it was the one that used to be in Sydney, like it's not there anymore, in um, Darling Harbour. And I remember being tripped out, realizing I couldn't actually see the whole screen. And I had to sort of do that to take it all in. That was weird. That was a weird experience. You see a Game Gear with a TV add-on. Oh, wow. That's wild. Confused by the sex education class. I just thought that was kind of funny. What a weird thing to say about a comedy. I thought it was kind of funny. Like, shut up, idiot. Honestly. Oh, man. Sorry, I'm just avoiding saying it because it was such an obvious Angry Aussie bingo square, but god damn. I fucking love old fashions. That's so yummy. Oh, yeah, for a 12-year-old, be confusing. I was I in year 11? 12? So I don't know, I was 17. Oh, yeah, and then going straight to the kids being beaten up in the rugby match. The vibe I got from The Meaning of Life, because Monty Python hadn't made a movie or anything for years, and so there was in the intervening years since like they made The Life of Brian, there was all this edgy and raunchy comedy had came out that made their old stuff look quite pedestrian, and the vibe I got from The Meaning of Life was that was them saying, hey, yeah, you know what? All you younger, edgier, raunchy comedians, fuck you. We can do really out there extreme shit too. That was the vibe I got at the time. Anyway, I have no idea if that was their motivation at all. So, oh, God, that's so fucking yummy. But yeah, that's certainly how I got the vibe from the old Pythons. And although Michael Palin is mercifully quiet, John Cleese is just so fucking embarrassing now, going on with his anti-woke stuff. It's just like, yeah, okay, boomer, fuck you. It's just embarrassing. So for if you were 12, the CRT, well, the biggest you would have got was the 80 centimeter ones. And they were pretty big. Actually, it's not strictly speaking. I do remember a specialist audio-visual place in the 90s. This is like just before flat screens started to come in. They had, I think it was 100 centimeter CRT. It was fucking huge. It was ridiculous. Like the box that it came in had these. It's like two tubes in the box, and what that was, they were reinforced, really quite thick cardboard. To move it around, it took two guys. They would slide these poles through them, and the guys would lift it up with these poles and carry it around. And the guy in the shop said they did sell a couple of them, and he said when we sell it to someone, we consult with them about the best place in the house, in the the lounge room to put it, and they say to them, we need to get this right because you won't be able to move it. You won't be able to move it safely. You probably just won't physically be able to move it without the setup that we have. It's got to take two very strong people and to move it, and it's very awkward, and you'll drop it and break it. They were just like ridiculously heavy, like they were over 100 kilograms. It's ridiculous. Oh, yes, well, the reprojection TVs, they were around in the 80s, I think. That they weren't great, but they weren't terrible. I knew people who had rear projection TVs. Oh, Justin, is this your second sleep study? I feel like you already did one. I mean, I almost want to do a follow-up to my original sleep study to see if I've gotten any better. But we'll see. But yeah, all the weird technology. And of course, the quality of projectors now are so much better than the ones that were around previously. And of course, they're portable. The old, both the rear projection TVs and also you get projection units for the home, but they were like fixed. The modern portable projectors are freakishly good. Also, Justin, it is your second sleep study. I thought so. So you had a plasma from 2012. Got it when you got into Laserdisc. Yeah, and that was actually why I got a plasma too. The different things on offer had different strengths. So it's just plasma screens had some real diehard fans, and I know I got a deal on a plasma screen, so that's why I got it. And now they just keep coming out with bigger and higher definition TVs. Just I guess just to give people something to fucking spend money on, because I was going like I thought they'd reached as far as they could, but they keep coming up with new $5,000-$10,000 TVs. It's just wild. Justin, I do remember a thing about a doctor saying something really shit to you, like, do you hate yourself for not being able to use a CPAP? Which is a fuck thing for a doctor to say, honestly. That was it, Safa. Darker colours. The blacks were better on plasmas. A comb filter that analog formats need to keep colours from bleeding. There you go. Okay, see? Strictly saying, you know the tech. That's cool. Sorry, I was just looking I made this a couple of weeks ago. It's still good. Shelf stable clarified cocktails. because there probably will be, and I think there are actually prototypes of this technology now. But basically, glasses like, and I don't mean the big VR headsets that cover in your hair, but basically glasses that fire light into your optic nerve that actually simulate a projection in front of you. I'm pretty sure there's at least prototypes of that exist now. Justin, you and me both, pal, and which I am slowly doing as well. It's moving in the same direction. Moving for by the end of the year to have made some significant achievements. Yeah, sorry, the Muppet Show theme always gets into my head somehow. Various things. So yes, clarified cocktails. Before I clarified this was a really murky brown. So like from very much like a muddy puddle, basically. But look at it in the bottle. Look how nice that looks. You can see straight through it. It's a very, because it's got some creme de menthe in it. It's probably not picking up there. There's a very faint green tinge to it. Oh, and the minty flavor has just come through really, really lightly, which is very nice. Oh, good, Justin. Well, if you've got a doctor helping you with that whole weight loss thing, good. I want a doctor to prescribe me legal amphetamines. The only trouble is, they can be both psychologically and physically addictive. But, you get a lot done, is all I'm saying. I mean, crystal meth has a bad reputation, but you can get a shit ton of stuff done when you're on crystal meth. In Minecraft, kids, don't do drugs. They're bad. Just make jokes about doing drugs. He said sipping his totally legal drug that is more destructive than a significant majority of things that are illegal. That's just the way things are. That is how the world works. That is how the world... Yum. That is so fucking yummy. But I'm going to drink... Look, I'm going to finish this off. It's all these in Coles now. Big bottles of this lightly flavoured sparkling water that I like. And there's a new flavour. I want to finish this bottle before I open the bottle of the new flavour. This is blood orange, which I like. And there's a new flavour called white peach, which I hope I like because I bought some of it. It'd fucking suck if I don't like it. I did not feel the earthquake. I slept through it. Mrs. Angry did. She says it woke her up. It did not wake me up. It's news to me. Oh no, Mega Leech, not your calls. Well, I honestly would have preferred it if they were still selling the small versions of this, but they're not, and they're selling this. I actually bought, because you'll probably notice me drinking. There's me trying to be responsible on live streams in the second half of live streams, drinking that soda water. I had gone through, and because I bought cases of it, because it was not necessarily cheap, but it was good value buying a case of it. And I've got through that. There was like 48 of those little bottles. Actually, now I just have this obsession with knowing how many of these bottles I've gotten through. So I think I had 24 of each flavour. Is that right? Yes, so I had 24 of each flavour, and I'm almost through them. So I replaced them, and I got some of the white peach, which only comes in this size. And they did it really fast. Like I ordered it on Friday or the weekend, and it got delivered today, which I thought was really fast. Fun fact: earthquake. It was an earthquake. We live on the back of an astronomically large duck. Look, that makes more sense than some things I hear. You were already awake, Dr. Abigail. There you go. Well, it was just pre-midnight, wasn't it? I'd gone to bed and I was asleep. I also suffer. Am I a deep sleeper? Yes and no. Some nights, and again, because the CPAP machine has a big effect. Like I move and I realize it's sort of slipped off my nose, and in my dozy state, I'll adjust my headgear, go back to sleep. But some nights I sleep right through. Other nights I wake up a lot. Oh, there you go. Heine knows what's what. It was 11:41 when the earthquake happened. Boot an hour and a half after I went to bed. I mean, every now and then, not very often, but every now and then I go to bed and I just lie there and I can't go to sleep. And I try to just lie still, just lie still. I go, God, I've been here a long time, haven't I? And I look and it's been an hour and I haven't been able to go to sleep. So it's like, well, fuck it. I am going to get up, and I usually, like watch something on TV. Am I upset about Mark McGowan? No, I don't really give a shit about Mark McGowan. I never really think about Western Australia. Sorry, Western Australia, but I don't think about you. It's very hard not to think something else is going on. But all the reasons he's given for very surprise resignation are completely legit. Like, public life's fucked, man. And he's had super fucking, anti-vax weirdos harassing them. Are you in Western Australia, Strictly Sega? I didn't know that. Yeah, all the reasons McGowan's given are completely legit. It's just very hard not to think something else is going on. And what's going to happen now is he's going to go into some cushy, extremely well-paid job with a mining company now. Who knows? I don't know. So, Heine, you're at a live concert. Your phone started buzzing. Group channel for your apartments was going crazy with earthquake. I did see a fun video. Someone from one of the high rises in the CBD showing around a video. All the other apartment buildings, all the lights were on because, like, everyone in those buildings, people really felt it, and everyone's waking up going, "The fuck was that?" Yeah, well, that's interesting. You think, actually, okay, Dan Andrews probably has supported unions more than McGowan. Cracked me up. Like the previous Liberal government managed to alienate everyone. They had nurses, ambulance drivers, teachers, all striking because the government was just assholes. They're just like, oh, dude, no, you've pissed off everyone. I don't think you're very long for this world. It's just really surreal. I don't know that Australia has ever had a state leader or even federal leader who dominated electorally like McGowan had in the last two elections. Like he was just unassailable. He was untouchable. And like right at the peak of his powers, he just goes, "Fuck it, I'm out." It just feels weird. It's not necessarily weird. Like I'm saying, it's like all his given reasons for checking out are completely legit. Oh yeah, no, okay. So that's what happens strictly Sega after everything this has been through. Pay rises below inflation. Yeah, and it's just what nurses and all emergency workers and medical staff have gone through in the last 3.5 years is just fucking nightmarish. It's just the fucking worst. Yeah, well, his strict lockdowns and closing the border friggin' worked. Absolutely friggin' worked. And we were doing okay over here right until the New South Wales Liberals caved to the pressure and put no effort whatsoever into controlling an outbreak. And then we were all fucked from that point. And I will never forgive them for that. Fuckers. Their decisions killed thousands of people. And lucky all the state leaders, including the Liberal leaders, ignored Scotty from marketing for the best part of 2 years. Because if we had followed fucking Scotty from marketing's lead, I don't know, some tens of thousands of more people would have died. He's useless piece of shit. Yeah, I mean, the fact that because you closed the border, everything was still open all the time. Incredible. Good work. Okay, see, I can't answer that, Saf. Again, who's a better lockdown premier? I just have to fully admit, I paid no real attention. I don't have a basis for making that judgment. Yeah, see, Justin, you've highlighted why you should never listen to that person. If you've been in the same job for more than 3 years, yeah, there's something to be taken for that, but it's not an absolute truth. It's ridiculous. There is a lot of digging going on in Melbourne at the moment. There's no two ways about that. No two ways at all. We got a lot of digging going on now. A lot of capital works. Some of them apparently being put on hold, but we'll see what the next year or so brings. But yeah. Yeah, it's a funny old world. I'm gonna have god damn it. Drop the lid. Some water pouring ASMR. Not sure if I'm gonna drink that. Oh yeah, the airport train's been put on hold again. Safi, you'd reckon I'd have a conclusive answer for that? I think some Defence Force personnel were used at various points in various quarantine locations, but I don't remember. But yeah, so yeah, the city circle is progressing. The airport link is on hold, but it might be back on in the next year. Who the fuck knows? The outer ring link, which I think is a fucking brilliant idea for everyone out in the suburbs. It's fucking awesome. Don't know what the status of that is. Oh yeah, the housing commission buildings that got locked down and surrounded by cops. The government now acknowledging, oh, that was probably not completely legal. We might pay some compensation. So, but I mean, you know, look, I'm not going to pretend that the government didn't make mistakes, because they did, but it was desperate times. and it was panicky times, and it was unprecedented, and people were not sure what would work and what wouldn't, and it was scary times. So mistakes were made. The classic for me was the the breakdown in quarantine. Like it was the hotel that was being used as a quarantine thing, and the system failed. And for me, it was a classic. Because look, working, and I'm coming at from an IT perspective, and also I work in these days in cybersecurity, and I focus on disaster recovery and whatnot. And I do a lot of process oriented stuff. Oh, sorry, so you can say the Ruby Princess. That was in Sydney. Yeah. So yeah, there was a whole thing with this government department congratulating themselves what a good job they'd done with this quarantine hotel, and it fucked up in a number of ways, and infected people got out and whatnot. And when I saw that, I was going like, that's the classic of someone developing a process, and they come up with it and they put together what they think are logical steps. And when they've done it, they put a line under it and go, done, we're geniuses. And they don't consider the practicalities. And God forbid, they do not have a contingency for if their system fails, because they're like, my system's not going to fail. I worked out a process and a procedure, and it's good. You told me to work out a way to manage it, and I documented it. Here's the way I'm going to manage it. And it's got to be, how will you handle a failure of that system? If there is a worst case scenario and the system you have in place completely fails, how will you handle that? And they were like, but it's not going to fail. I don't think they even asked themselves the question. I don't think they asked themselves the question, what would happen if this system we developed fails? And I've seen that. People are dunking on the government department for that. I've seen it in corporate world so many times. Sometimes on really simple fundamental things, when someone says, oh, we want it to work like that. And because I was an analyst working on it, I'd look at it and go, okay, there's this, okay, I'm going to point it out to you. There's this huge glaring flaw in here that it would be very easy for something to go terribly wrong here. And they're going, yeah, but it won't. I said, but it can, and we should have a plan for what happens when it goes wrong. Yeah, but it won't. You say that, but I've just highlighted for you the exact risk and how easy it would be for that to go wrong. Yeah, but it won't. It's like, well, fucking okay. Oh, look, I'll give you an example. I'll change a couple things. So it was a company, and this was private sector. Actually, it was a government thing that got privatized, but it was private sector when I worked there. They leased office equipment, right? Pretty simple. The whole thing was about lease management. So there's a whole thing about buying stuff, coming up with a lease arrangement, leasing it to people, and you get it back at the end of the lease. And so there was a cost recovery thing. At the end of the leases, they would get auction houses to sell things, and would be like blind auctions for things, and la-di-da-di-da. And they wanted to develop this new system to automate end of lease stuff being sold by third parties. And they did the basic thing and went, da-da-da, going to give it to them. They're going to sell it. They're going to tell us what they sold it for. And Bob's your uncle. And I went, how do we know? Because we had market value for all these things. And it's like, okay. And I said, but okay, we've got this whole system with market value for all this stuff. and a depreciation built in, we should factor that into the sale. And they go, what? And I said, well, to make sure they're not ripping us off. Like if we give them $20,000 worth of office equipment to sell, what happens if they come back to us and say, here's your $500? There's no checks in the system to say if the money they give us back is the right amount of money. And the big answer was, oh, they wouldn't do that. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And it's like, well, they just wouldn't do that. And I went, okay. First, I beg to differ. People are fucking scammers, and they would. But second, they might make a mistake. They might put the decimal point in the wrong place by accident. And instead of depositing $20,000 to us, they deposit $2,000 or $200 because they put the decimal point in the wrong spot by accident. Even if everyone we deal with is completely trustworthy, and fuck me, I don't think they are, but even if they were, they could still make mistakes. And all we do is put a check in, and you could even give them leeway, like, check, is this amount within 20% of our book value of what we gave them? And if it's not, we can just contact them. And honestly, they could legitimately say, oh yeah, that's all it sold for on the day. And fine, but we should have a check. And these people in management are just going, no, they won't do that. I was going, you're fucking idiot. Either you're either corrupt or you're a fucking idiot. And I don't know which is which. And I won't keep my job if I say either. So it's like, I did my fucking job. I told you there's a problem. And the solution to the problem was actually pretty straightforward. And you just went, no. So, okay, fuck you. They should all be in prison. Honestly, the Price Waterhouse thing, all in prison. And I also mean the politicians who are involved in it. I think there's scammeroonie going on there. Put them all in prison. I mean, you could just save yourself some problems by putting everyone who was in the fucking New South Wales LNP, and honestly, the federal, for the last 20 years. Just put them in jail. Just put them in jail. That simple. That fucking simple. But this shit happens all the time. And like I said, having been a business analyst in IT for like 25 years, it's that straightforward. People come up with ideas, and they have an idea, and they say, oh, we're going to do a thing. And look, and I'm going to document it, and there's going to be a process. Look, you ask, oh, it's perfect. I've got it. And some busybody like me goes, but what if it goes wrong? And they go, it won't. And what if it does? It won't. It's like, fuck you. What if it does? Because shit goes wrong. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, strictly speaking, that New South Wales police and tasing the poor old woman. Oh, my God, there's some fuckery there. Although that cop's actually facing charges, if I remember rightly. I mean, we'll see what happens, but God, I mean, we're not yet. Well, actually, we are. It's just not as widespread. I was going to say, we're not yet the US police with the random murdering of black men in particular. But it happens here, just not as much. But it definitely happens with extremely racist cops inflicting extreme violence on black people. It's just reality. It just happens. So what happens when you give people power. So those things about budget in surplus and whatnot, most of that shit's imaginary. It's yeah. I don't think a government's job is to have a budget in surplus. I think a government's job is to give the population the best life possible. Radical commie shit, I know. But then again, I'm into that radical luxury gay space communism. It's just it varies the degree to which politicians are just making up shit with their budget and money and whatnot. But there's no getting away with it. Making shit up. Are we spending too much on defense? Yes, it's a farce. It's a weird fucking fantasy that there is some value in us spending those billions on the military, and it's a fucking farce. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's this ridiculous right wing, and I don't leave Labour out of that. It's this ridiculous right wing boys jerking off fantasy about big war man, yeah, and it's a fucking farce. I was going to say bordering on criminal. I think it is criminal. The money they're wasting on it. It's fucked. Okay, that's the technical term. It's fucked. So that's all there is to it. It's fucked up shit. You know, what are we going to do? All right, I think I am going to finish this soda water tonight. It's okay, hydrate myself before bedtime. And that can go in the recycling. You'd rather go to jail than be conscripted, particularly in a horribly immoral and unjust war like Vietnam. My God, what a waste that was. I mean, you look at World War II was all but unavoidable because of the aggression of the Nazis and Imperial Japan. I mean, World War One was a fucking crime, and all the aristocracy of Europe who were behind it all should have been executed. You know, I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. No, Suffer, I still haven't watched Visions. I gotta say, just by the way, Mrs. Angry's been dominating the TV. She got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for her birthday, and she's way into it and plays it heaps. And I love to see it. So, anyway. Justin, you can't be conscripted because you're so poorly. Well, you know, I can't be conscripted because I'm old and fat. So one hopes that there will never be conscription again in Australia. But there are fucked up people all around the place. So if you think I should get a second day, I mean, I can and occasionally do watch stuff on my computer, you know, all the streaming services and whatnot. I do occasionally watch it on my computer. I don't think an American second civil war is inevitable. Although it's not good seeing what's happening there. Just absolutely unhinged, corrupt right-wing politicians that represent only a tiny fraction of the population, just doing heinous, sort of borderline Nazi shit. It's extremely hard. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons the US shouldn't exist. It's too difficult to manage, but I mean, what happens if imperial power of that size collapses? What actually happens? It's weird. Safra, I didn't hear about that. I just know, I mean, all the fuckwits are getting jail time and years. And it's hilarious. It comes back to the weirdest thing is about the those January 6th insurrectionists is the delusion that they weren't going to face any repercussions. Like, there's just a wildly extreme criminal act that they indulged in, and they were living in this fantasy where they wouldn't face any repercussions. Like, leftists who do any sort of serious action, they do operational security, they have masks, they don't do shit. And these fucking lunatics had this deeply held delusion that they wouldn't face any repercussions for what they were doing. They're just not in connection with reality. So you can say no more new movies, you mean because of the writers' strike? Is that what you're talking about? Well, the writers are, and in fact, I think the Screen Actors Guild is supporting the strike, aren't they? Or actually on strike as well. The studios, speaking of criminals, let's get them in too. They're fucking criminals who go out of their way to fuck the people over that create their wealth. And they need to be pulled into line. So if it was Jan 6 started the Second Civil War, no. I'm going to say no. It was a one-off event. Oh, sorry. Strictly speaking, that was in response to me asking the consequences of a civil war. No more new. You'd get more movies. They would just be propaganda. See, Justin, I'm not enough of a student of history to really comment on causes and contributors to the Vietnam War and what drove stupid decisions. We can, with the benefit of hindsight, say, wow, those were stupid decisions. And there were a lot of people who didn't need hindsight who at the time were like, hey, these are really stupid decisions. Fuck are you doing? But I'm not well versed enough in the history to be able to pin down to what degree America thought, like communist China was back in Vietnam. Man, modern day Vietnam, they've been doing some fucked up shit with imprisoning people just for saying, hey, I think the government sucks. That's not good. Oh my God. If you want to wind up either a Japanese or Korean person, because it's really interesting cultural crossover and linguistic crossovers between Korea and Japan. If you want to upset a Japanese person, you say their culture and language is based on Korean. And if you want to upset a Korean person, you say their culture and language is based on Japanese. And there are elements of truth both ways, but either way, they will fucking lose their shit at you because enormous amounts of antipathy between them. Although North Korea is probably pushing South Korea and Japan closer to each other. Like, I find these things, and it's a thing I mixed, and I fucking forget what it is. It's got, I just had a little tip of it. It's got really wild flavors, like menthol. Now, and this is for real. I find bottles of things, and what the fuck is this? Where did I leave this? What's in this? And because Mrs. Angry always says, label your bottles, and I'm going, I'll remember. I don't. I never do. And it's just, goddamn. I fucking find these things. I don't know what that is. Might save this for my next clarified cocktail. Actually, it's very weird. And I like weird flavors. And no, I'm not getting purple bins, and I don't think it's raining. Kind of threatened rain on and off today, but then it didn't. What's happening? Oh, God, I'm probably going into the office on Thursday because I've got a dentist appointment. And did I mention young Ms. Angry is her American boyfriend is here now. And I was talking about taking him out to some bars, maybe on Thursday. But tomorrow is young Mr. Angry's birthday. Be doing takeaway with them. And I'll discuss the fact that, well, look, I'm going to be in the city on Thursday. Do you want to go out on Thursday? So there may not be a stream on Thursday. There might not. Very hard to predict. But yes. What do we got? I was just looking. I just want to look at the weather. Tomorrow's going to be 19. That's okay. But probably raining tomorrow. Actually, probably raining Thursday too. And then easing off a bit. Tomorrow, cloudy, medium chance of showers, most likely in the evening. 1 to 3 millimeters. So just showers. But a 19 maximum. And then Thursday, 16 maximum. And maybe 4 millimeters of rain. High chance of showers in the morning. All right, so there's probable rain Wednesday night into Thursday morning. There you go. Don't you fucking love when I talk about the weather? Scintillating content. Scintillating content. You think you're blown away at 3 bins, how small the red bins is. Well, it actually varies. The councils have different sizes. We're going to theoretically move to 4 bins. Yeah, purple bins for glass. So currently I have a yellow bin for recyclables, green bin for green waste, red bin for normal waste. They're talking about adding a purple bin. So purple would be glass recyclables, and then yellow would become paper recyclables. How Tim Smith am I? Only half, I think. I don't feel very Tim Smithed. You know, it's the whole thing. That is weird. What the fuck was in this? Like I said, it's got a real menthol sort of flavor. God knows what I was making. And I just worry, you keep hearing stories about recycling's actually bullshit. But yeah. I don't know. That was another thing I kind of thought. I want a big lotto thing. Got to set up a recycling plant to do recycling properly. Because I've heard too many stories about recycling being bullshit and the recycling companies fucking things up and whatnot. Well, surely you could do it better. And I mean, if you're doing it right and you're doing it better, it would also, you know, you'd make a shit ton of money because all the councils would send their recycling to you because you were doing it right. Oh, is that one that fucked up? Was Coles meant to be doing the bags? I don't know. I just keep hearing story after story after story that recycling is almost definitely bullshit because of all this corruption and fuckery. Dr. Abigail, I'm glad that you're getting better. Oh, wow. You think you've hit the worst yesterday and today and you'll be better. Yes, you will be better. You will improve. And that's important. So wishing you all the best for improvement. I swear to God, when my tram got super crowded, because it's kind of like I pass a train station on the way, and usually a bunch of people get off the tram at the train station because they think the train, and they probably correctly think the train will get them into the city sooner, or maybe their work is near a train station. But the rail line was shut down. So I'm on my tram, gets to a station where normally a bunch of people get off, but a fuck ton of people got on. And I thought, oh, trains aren't running. Then it goes a little ways, and then we're at the stop that was closest to the next train station. Fuck ton more people again. So it's this super crowded tram. But because I got on early, at least I had a seat. And this is the funniest thing. Okay, this like occurs to me recently, and it's just like, oh, there's a lot of people. Should I be giving up my chair for someone? And I'm like, man, I'm nearly 60. I don't have to give my chair up for anyone. God damn it! And since I've stopped colouring my hair, so I'm all grey, yeah, I don't think I have to fucking give my seat up for anyone. God damn it! I still have I had someone try to give up a seat for me? Because that's the real sign, like you're old at that point. When someone goes, take my seat. I can't think of that. But yeah, see, here's the thing, Dr. Abigail. It's not that I'm not saying it's super profitable. I'm just saying here's story after story after story that the recycling companies are fucking things up and it's all bullshit. And I just think if you do it properly, and I think you'd do a big PR thing as well. You'd be doing a big PR thing like, hey, everyone else is fucking lying to you about recycling. We're doing it correctly. And just get a huge media push that, no, we're doing it correctly. So there was a lot of pressure on the councils and state government to give you the recycling. And you just say, well, this is how much it costs. And that's got to be factored in. It's just, there are just so many stories about incompetence and corruption in recycling, and it's got to be possible to do it properly. Oh yeah, okay, no, fair call. Actually, a very pregnant woman or somebody with a very obvious disability where it's much less safe for them to be standing up. I was joking. I do actually give my seat up for people. But yeah. Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, that's another problem, Justin. Uh, Recycling, particularly tech waste, is just getting dumped. It's happened in Africa, in Southeast Asia. Just thousands of tons of waste that people think is being recycled is just being dumped in poorer countries, and it's bullshit. Well, see, and also here's another thing: profit margin is small, it's still profit, and this is the problem I have with the capitalist class, that they get this obsession about profits have to be huge, constant growth is necessary, and I'm not joking. Like if I like and of course this is a complete fantasy because I'm not going to win lotto because I don't even buy lotto tickets. But I'm not going to win lotto. But if I won one of those really big lottos, um, uh, and you could set up a recycling plant that did it properly and only made 1% profit, that's still fucking profit. And like I said, fuck the capitalist class who are destroying society, the environment, and the world with this fallacy of constant growth. They're fucked. I do actually remember that, Justin. And kudos to China if they stuck to that. But it's just going to go somewhere else to a poorer country. And it's, yeah. And as I said, this is why there's a lot of people on this planet. You're real lucky. I don't have like the, Thanos snap power because I wouldn't do the wussy thing of saying randomly half the people. It would be extremely targeted. And yes, the entire capitalist class would be like, okay, motherfuckers, I'm giving you notice of all the things you have to fix. And if I come back and you haven't fixed them, it's like, you're gone. Fuck you. The idea that these fuckers steal resources, steal labor, ravage the environment, ravage the economy, quite honestly, and not have to pay to clean up their messes, both literal and metaphorical, is just criminal. It's just absolutely criminal. The fact that this tiny percentage, 1% of 1% of the population, can accrue massive wealth through exploitation and destruction. And it's just like, if you're so fucking clever, make your wealth while A, properly looking after everyone who's actually doing the work that creates your wealth, B, cleaning up the fucking mess you make. Managing, and I mean over the life of things. Like if you're creating products, you are responsible for the safe disposal and recycling of those products. And if you can't do that, then you can't manufacture things. And just like, I just think, what they have volcanoes in Minecraft. Push a few of the fucking capitalists into a volcano in Minecraft. Show them you mean business, basically. Ugh. But, what are you going to do? Am I middle class? I mean, probably, I guess. I have a cushy office job and I'm white. I guess I'm middle class. I don't own property, but, Yeah, mining Taxel's been given mining companies to steal the wealth. Yeah, no. That's criminal. Like, speaking solely for Australia, nationalize every single mining operation in the country, and I mean all of them, and any of the corpos who squeal, throw them in fucking jail. They've already stolen billions of dollars. Just take control of all of it and nationalize it. And yeah, the corpos who've gotten fat off it, if they complain, we're going to throw them in jail, seize their assets. I would not have any qualms whatsoever. And that's the whole thing about, but the government's inefficient and blah, 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 blah. You know what? I would happily slow down development. I would be happy if there was no profit in mining or primary industry, that it was just done to benefit the population. And it's like, the government, that money's all going to people. It's just like, fuck them. And yes, of course, those stage 3 tax cuts are a fucking farce. Again, bordering on criminal. Let's retroactively throw John Howard in prison for the corruption of doing that. Also because he's a dick and I don't like him. God, I'd be terrible if I was given autocratic powers. I would definitely, the first year, it would take a long time to imprison all the people who deserve to be imprisoned. It would take me a few years to get through all the people who really fucking need to be in. Okay, so you're talking specifically about Morrison. So Howard put what was it? The franking credits, absolute criminal. And yes, of course, Morrison should be in fucking prison as well, just for incompetence. Like I said, I'd spend the first couple of years dealing with people who really needed to be dealt with. But there's no doubt that after a while, they'd just be like, oh, you know what? I find you mildly annoying. Off you go. Off you go. We're putting you in the gulag now. But, they'd all be dicks. The people I would do it to would all be dicks. So they get what's coming to them, I say. So And yes, I can say things like this because it's obviously complete fantasy. It's not actually a prescription for the future. It's messing about and talking about complete fantasy. But I'd do it. I'd fucking do it. I should be dictator for life. I don't mind a parliament. Oh, look, you got to have a legislative body, people proposing stuff and whatever. But yeah, you get the occasional fuckos like Craig Kelly who con their way in, and I'd just be like, actually, you fucking suck. Gulag for you. But yeah, I don't know. There needs to be a legislative and administrative thing. I can't fucking do anything. Even with godlike powers, there are a limited number of hours in the day. Everyone will get a warning. Everyone will get a warning, and that's right up to the terrorists, the murderers, rapists, and whatnot. It'd just be like, okay, you're on notice, guys, and I get someone like the worst one up and snap them and they turn into dust and go, okay, once I tell you you're on notice, stop your shit or that happens. They'd get a warning. Everyone would get a warning. And it's like, honey, how bad was Joe? Deeply, deeply, deeply corrupt. Just mind-blowingly corrupt. And so out in the open, but totalitarian despot. Eventually, after decades, Queensland got rid of him. Oh yeah, no. I look. There would be some who wouldn't get a warning, but you got to have a couple of examples first. Like they did this. Okay, if you're this, you're on notice. Okay. Was Joe a dictator? He was leader of a parliamentary democracy. He had a dictatorial style. He put laws in place that were incredibly repressive and totalitarian, and he was corrupt to just an extraordinary degree. I don't think he meets the definition of dictator simply because he was the leader of a parliamentary democracy. He did a bunch of criminal and corrupt things to maintain that power, but and he put in place some very totalitarian laws and policies. But I don't think he meets the definition of a dictator because he was operating within a parliamentary democracy, a corrupted parliamentary democracy, but still a parliamentary democracy. But fucked dude, absolutely fucked dude. Literally passing laws like you're not allowed to gather in groups of more than 4 or something, because it was anti-union stuff to try and stop unions from organizing, saying it was a criminal offense to gather in groups of more than 4 or 6 or something. It's absolutely ridiculous. And criminal. He was definitely a criminal. He was absolutely a criminal. But it's just, shit that fucking happens. Oh my god, I would just be the fucking worst with Thanos power. Really, I'm not joking. I'd very quickly get to the stage where I was doing the snap on people who just mildly annoyed me, and they'd fucking deserve it. Honestly, they'd fucking deserve it. I wouldn't do anything to anyone who didn't deserve it, but fuck me. Oh no, enjoy the movie, enjoy your movie, and I hope it's a good one. I'm almost ready for bed. Almost ready for bed. So yeah, that would be me. Funny, last night I watched the final ever episode of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is a very fun show. Last episode of the series The Power on Prime, which was entertaining and interesting. And wait and see if they do a second season of it. Watch a little bit of the other thing. Okay, so tomorrow night, night of not streaming, I'm probably not watching anything because I'm going to have takeaway with young Miss Starangry, young Miss Angry, and her boy, and so I'll be out. Hey, Toby is on Facebook, and as I said, I may not do a stream on Thursday. I might be doing a little bit of bar hopping on Thursday. See, different things to different people. The thing I enjoyed about Mrs. Maisel is it's about someone who just desperately wants to perform and be the center of attention. I also found it quite entertaining that it's not quite naturalistic, like it's comedy with a little bit of drama and pathos, I guess. But the way the people talk in it is not naturalistic. It almost is. It's funny. It's like it's not quite natural. It's very theatrical. It's very much like theater, the way the conversations and dialogue go. And it's super affluent New York Jewish, which I don't know why, because that is in a very alien world to me, but I really enjoy it. But yes, I just generally enjoyed, and Mrs. Angry enjoyed Mrs. Maisel. And yeah, the thing that got me in is that it was about a performer, or someone who wanted to be a performer. But yeah, just the quirks of it and the little bits of silliness where it was just like, it's like mostly kind of sort of naturalistic, but then not really. I think I'm probably given a very bad description and explanation of that. But it's like, people don't talk like that. It almost sounds like how people talk, but it's not quite how people talk. It's very performative and theatrical. And I don't know, I just enjoyed it. And in the final season, they took some very interesting choices in how they did it. There's a lot of time jumps. It's set in the 1950s into the early 60s, I think. And the final season does a lot of time jumps back and forth, including to the modern era, to our era. So it actually tells you how some things finish before you see how it got to that point, which is a very interesting choice to make, in my humble opinion. But speaking about interesting choices, I'm going to choose to eat my cherry, the symbolic end of a live stream. These cherries never stop being yummy to me. I used to think these weren't real cherries because in terms of their consistency, they're completely different to fresh cherries, that they go through a really freaky process of bleaching, and it changes the whole consistency of the flesh of them. And then they're soaked in something. The cheap, bright green, bright red ones are just soaked in sugar water with food dye in it. These ones, I have the really yummy ones. They are soaked in the juice of the cherries, marasca syrup. They're so fucking yummy. I fucking love them. I'd go to war for these Luxardo cherries, quite honestly. Talking about earlier how the Vietnam War was unjust. Vietnam War was unjust and wrong. World War One was a fucking crime. I'd go to war for Luxardo cherries. I'm just saying. So just more evidence that I would be very bad as ultimate dictator. I would just do really bad things. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go sleepy bobos now. So you find people, look after yourselves. I hope to see you again another day. But